Good evening, members. Welcome to Castle Point's Cabinet meeting. We're not expecting a fire drill this evening, so if the fire alarm goes off during the meeting, please leave immediately by the nearest emergency exit and gather outside the Runnymede Hall. Cabinet members, please introduce yourselves, starting on the right-hand side with Councillor Steve Mountford.
Evening, thank you. Councillor Steve Mountford, Cabinet Member for Resources.
Good evening all. Councillor Russ Savage, Cabinet Member for People and Community.
Thank you, Leader. Good evening all. Councillor Robert Lillis, Cabinet Member for Health, Wellbeing and Housing.
Good evening all. Thank you, Leader. Councillor Barry Palmer, Cabinet Member for Economic Growth and Climate Action.
Thank you, Leader. Good evening all. Councillor Michael Fuller, Cabinet Member for Environment.
Thank you, members. And also we have with us Councillor Grace Watson.
Good evening, Leader. Councillor Grace Watson.
Okay then, members. Agenda item 1, apologies for absent. Are there any apologies for absent? Sonia, please.
Yes, we've got apologies from Councillor Tom Gibson, Councillor Warren Gibson and Councillor Tim Popsey.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. Members, do you have any interest to declare? No interest in declare. Agenda item 3, minutes from the meeting held on the 16th and the 23rd of July 2025. Members, are the minutes of the meeting held on those dates agreed? Is it okay I'll sign the minutes then, members? Thank you very much. Okay, members. Agenda item 4, members' questions on notice. Members, there are none. Agenda item 5, tender of new contracts for planned repairs and maintenance and heating. Councillor Lillis, can you please introduce the report?
Thank you, Chair. Cabinet, this report is to seek the approval of Cabinet to tender contract or contracts for planned repairs, maintenance and heating as part of the Council's housing to replace existing contracts which are due to expire on 21st March 2026, rationalise other similar contracts which are due to expire in the next 12 months, and to widen the scope of the procurement exercise to include provision of these services in respect of the Council's corporate estate services. Currently, the Council has a number of contracts in place for its social housing stock, as set out in the report before you. Separate contracts are in place for corporate assets, and there are some areas of service where there are no contract arrangements in place. Other minor works are currently being delivered through a request for quotes process on a job-by-job basis and need to be moved onto a more robust contract basis. There is, therefore, an opportunity for the Council to aggregate these contracts into a single procurement exercise and to regularise the Council's compliance with procurement law. This would mean that the same contractor or contractors would be providing building services to the Council's housing stock and its corporate estate as well as bringing all services under the umbrella of a single contract or set of contracts. It is proposed that the contract or contracts would be for an initial 5-year period with the option to extend for a further 5 years. It is proposed to conduct a single tender exercise containing 3 lots, as set out before you in the table in the report. This means that contractors could bid for either repairs or heating or both. This creates the maximum opportunity for the market to engage with the tender exercise and allows the Council to test economies of scale deliverable under Lot 3 compared to individual bids in Lots 1 and 2. Once the tender process is complete, the Council would award a contract to either each of the successful bidders from Lots 1 and 2 or a single contract under Lot 3. The estimated total contract value over the full 10-year period is £125 million. This is a prudent estimate based on existing contract values already budgeted for, uplifted as necessary to accommodate the findings of the Council's Housing Stock Condition Survey, which is subject to an additional budget request, and grant and match funding opportunities from central government and other sources. This estimation takes into account previous year's actual spends, realistic budget projection for all housing technical services repairs, planned preventative maintenance and compliance-related activities, projected costs to rectify capital investment, estimated costs for decarbonisation and other necessary improvements to housing stock. However, it is important to note that as the majority of the contract value is attributable to the Council's housing service, the actual contract value to be tendered will be specified following the review of the HRA business plan by the Section 151 officer. Full stock condition surveys and full energy performance certificates are currently in progress. This accurate data will be used to create a new asset management plan, which will then be used to finalise the required contract values. This will be presented to Cabinet later this year alongside the new HRA business plan. The details of Lot 1 and Lot 2 are detailed in the report. I would just note that Lot 3 would procure a single contractor to deliver all works in Lot 1 and Lot 2 without exclusions. The recommended option is to proceed with a tender process as set out in paragraph 5. This will provide these significant benefits to the Council. A. It will improve value for money through economies of scale. A robust, well-specified tender process which tests the market will maximise the return to the Council. B. It will offer greater transparency in terms of cost. By bringing all of these services into a single contract or into just 2 contracts compared to the current number will make costs clearer and better capable of being benchmarked. In addition, procurement of the other minor works, ad hoc or call-off arrangements, and rationalising them will improve the Council's procurement law compliance. C. It will reduce the administrative overhead. One tender process compared to numerous individual processes will reduce officer time and, therefore, the operational cost of delivery. D. It will improve the Council's contract management. Having fewer, higher value contracts will enable the Council to build stronger working relationships with contractors, working in partnership, but also being able to hold them to account in terms of performance as necessary. E. It will ensure parity between services provided in respect of the Council's housing stock and its corporate buildings, removing the current disparity in specification. F. It will enable the Council to make additional demands of the contractor or contractors in respect of the provision of social value, something I'm very keen on, and it is an example, providing additional value-added services such as training schemes, apprenticeships and tenant-facing activities. The Council will also be able to incentivise the use of local supply chains so far as legally possible. G. It will create the opportunity to take a single approach to performance, compliance and asset management across all of the Council's estate and social housing stock. And H. The scope of the new contract or contracts will enable the Council to commission additional works as necessary if its requirements change over the contract term. This future-proofs the contractual arrangements and will secure arrangements post-LGR. Due to the expiry of the contracts specified in paragraphs 4.1 and 4.2 before you, the Council is obliged to re-tender contracts in any event. It remains an option for the Council to continue to take a piecemeal approach to the renewal of these contracts, but that is not recommended as none of the benefits that I've just listed would be realised. There is a hard deadline of 31 March 2026 for the two councils, for the Council's 2 most significant highest value contracts set out in 4.1A and B. There is therefore a need to progress procurement at pace in order to ensure continuity of service from 01 April 2026. Also to note, all of the contracts that we inherited for capital works have either already expired or have exceeded their contract value. To reduce risks of contractor failure, the normal contract performance and financial bonds will be secured as part of any award process. New contract or contracts will include improved KPI and performance data, which will enable the Council to quickly identify operational sustainability issues and undertake any necessary corrective action. The proposed approach does require greater communication and partnership working across the housing and corporate teams, with clear lines of reporting and escalation. The teams have agreed to design new working arrangements to ensure these requirements can be fully met by the time the new contract or contracts are in place. The estimated value is a maximum which takes into account existing known requirements, forecast requirements, and potential but as yet unquantified requirements. It is not a guaranteed value. The actual contract or contract's cost will depend on the individual works undertaken during its lifetime, with those works being within the agreed budgets for any given year. The contract or contracts will be partially funded from the General Fund for corporate estate and from the Housing Revenue Account for the Council's housing stock. Mechanisms within the contract operation and invoicing will ensure that at all times costs are split between the two based on the actual works undertaken. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Lillis, for a very in-depth report. Thank you very much. Members, are there any questions or comments? Councillor Fuller.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Lillis, congratulations. A very well delivered report and very informative. Good work from the officers in putting this together. When we talk about the the cost of the contract value over the 10-year period, 125 million, obviously it's a very sizable amount of money, probably one of the biggest spends, I imagine, of the council. I note within your report in section 5.3, looking at the fundings, if you like, of this 125 million, you say that the estimate takes into account previous year's actual spends, etc. It also refers to match funding opportunities from central government. It gives me a little bit of a sort of a queasy feeling here. Just for historical context, is it possible just to give us some idea of how the government have previously funded schemes like this and what their funding has been and how generous they've been, or let's say how Scrooge-like they've been? Is it a realistic prospect that we will actually get funding from central government for this? Thank you.
Through the Chair. Thank you, Councillor, for your question. I'm going to defer to either Damien or to Angela for that question, if I may. That's quite a technical one and probably beyond me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. In terms of the historic match funding, that's something I'll have to take away and get an answer for. What I can say is that the government, in terms of moving forward into the future, is looking to deliver the decade of affordable and social housing renewal. And within that programme, that 5-year plan, that 5-year plan, if you like, there are many funding opportunities where there's talk about match funding. So, for example, in relation to housing building delivery, and there's also talk about extra funding in terms of repairs and maintenance. In terms of specific themes, what they'll help with in relation to funding, you're talking about stuff to do with improvements in relation to removal of cladding, if we had such buildings, in terms of energy efficiency as well. There's some funding streams there as well that we can try and put in bids for. Now, some of those topics that I'm talking about, we won't be eligible for because we don't have the tall high-rise buildings. But in terms of certainly the EPC works and some of the improvements to heating and electrics and so on, those sort of grants, if you like, and those sort of match funding opportunities are where we'd expect to play them in, if you like, and work with them to see what we can do. There is a future report coming forward which will set out in detail some of the things that we can hopefully consider and bid against.
Thank you very much. Very informative and reassuring reply. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure, Councillor Fuller, if there's an opportunity of match funding, we will definitely do our best to get a part of that. Okay, members, there are two recommendations set out in paragraph 3.1 of the report, which I will move. Do I have a seconder?
Thank you. I'll happily second that. Thank you.
Councillor Mountford, thank you very much. Members, is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much. Moving on, agenda item 6, local safer streets funding, CCTV. Councillor Savage, please introduce your report.
Good evening all. I thank Damien and David Miles for the comprehensive report that you see before you. I'm not going to go through the whole report. It is extremely comprehensive, but I will pick out the salient points, as is my style. I will just highlight a few points at the start of the report, however. So this is just to present an update on the implementation of a new closed circuit television offering Castleborough and the steps to deliver the project. I want to share just three of the links to the priorities and objectives, that being the working for a prosperous future. The implementation of the new CCTV offer in the Borough will assist in the prevention of crime and antisocial behaviour through deterrence and the ability to effectively tackle crime through the use of CCTV, creating safer communities. A safer community will be more likely to attract and retain businesses and the skilled workforce they need. It also helps to reduce business crime. The second one I'd like to highlight is the healthier and safer communities. An effective, well-monitored CCTV system can reduce the perception of crime and provide reassurance for residents and visitors. It is most effective where monitoring is constant and there is the strength of partnership with the council partners, in particular Essex Police, and ongoing, the team at Southend City Council will do the monitoring. And the third one out of the five I'd like to just restoring our council to good health. I think we can all agree that effective CCTV will assist in a more effective response to incidents, supporting investigation, enforcement, and could result in proceeds from crime being used to sustain and enhance the system and support antisocial investigation deterrent programmes, something that we've never done before with previous administrations. So the recommendation is that the Cabinet resolves to note the progress of the project to date, that a CCTV task and finish group be set up, chaired by the Cabinet member for People and Community and myself, to identify the locations for installation of the CCTV cameras, and that a future report be made to Cabinet to confirm the location of cameras and details of the CCTV installation and monitoring arrangements ongoing. So the task and finish group, we actually had a first meeting this morning to set the terms of reference for that. And just giving you a brief update on that particular meeting, we did discuss in terms of the things I've mentioned for businesses and residents, but we also have a duty to the Police Crime Commissioner's Office, because obviously they're the guys who've given us £1,040,000 to install this kit. We also have a duty to the Community Safety Partnership teams. And obviously we've got our own corporate plan stuff that we want to align this with all of those initiatives, so that we're ticking all the right boxes when we do this, as well as giving our residents a safer environment. So in terms of the project ongoing, we've procured a project manager. So the procurement phase of the CCTV project manager concluded on the 1st of August. So there was 4 companies who took part in the bidding process. And on the 4th of August, Dr. Michael Pollack of Eclipse Research was informed that they were the successful bidder. The document provided significant professional expertise in the field and comprehensive plan for the borough and the CCTV installation phase. Dr. Pollack's bid submission outlined costings for £500 a day, professional rate, and an estimated overall cost for the professional services of £32,500. Now, when we took this grant from the PFCC, it was highlighted that there was some match funding elements to it, that being maintenance and ongoing costs, and that money is coming out of the budget phase for it. So there's no extra funding. We're not looking for any extra funding. I just want to make that very clear. So in terms of the CCTV sites, the procurement specification outlined the camera installation. However, this is subject to confirmation once Dr. Pollack has completed a full evaluation of the specification set out against the full budget, which wasn't disclosed for the purpose of the procurement phase at that time. Essentially, the total number of cameras is yet to be confirmed and will need to factor in sector cost increases since the initial funding bid was submitted approximately 18 months ago. And some of the delays there were with procurement, some of them were with legal, between us and Essex. So that's not something that we have been wholeheartedly responsible for, that delay. Dr. Pollock designed, installed and maintained the Southend City Council CCTV system and has significant local knowledge, which is one of the reasons why we've actually taken him on board. Expertise and established professional relationships with the team at Southend City Council control room personnel. So this guy's very well established and knows how to install this kind of equipment. He advises that the production of an installation timetable will require assistance of the Essex Procurement Partnership, Castle Point Borough Council officers, knowledge of the process and committee dates and the route to market. But in his experience, it would take at least 6 months before the installation supplier's contract is ready to be let. Therefore, the installation period from that point that the contract is let and purchase order issued is likely to be around 6 to 9 months. Just to give you a little bit of reassurance in terms of timelines, however, I think it was Councillor Lindis in one of our cabinet meetings who suggested that if we could make that a little bit faster by actually getting some of these CCTV installed on the existing sites where we know that cameras either didn't work or Essex Police have had cameras previously. So we're hoping to speed that up. You know, I think that was a great suggestion and it's been taken forward to that team. Mr. Pollock will provide a full project management service that will include specification, installation and maintenance requirements, submission of council reports and preparation of contract documents, CCTV sites visits and evaluation of tenders and suppliers. The project management meetings will be held throughout the installation programme, which will be weekly once work starts on site. The project will be managed from contract initiation with the installation supplier through to handover of the completed system to the council. And the cameras are likely to be commissioned onto the system as the installation progresses and will be viewed, controlled and recorded by Southend City Council Control Room 24/7 as they become available. So as soon as they're going in, these are going to be monitored. So in terms of equipment supply and orders, the supplier will begin to order equipment once it receives a purchase order. The order period for video recorders, switches, network equipment, cameras can be as little as a week. So when items are in stock, and 8 weeks if they need to be shipped from abroad. So it's a quick turnaround. Yeah, that's what we've been told. So new camera columns are manufactured to order and tend to be installed in 3 to 4 months from order. So any new sites might be a little bit protracted in terms of timeline. Hand over to Castle Point. Once the system's been completed, there will be a final site acceptance test which will confirm the correct operation of all equipment and identify any snags to be corrected. The supplier will be required to draw up an operation and maintenance manual that describes all elements of the system as built, its configuration and how it should be maintained. This document must be complete before the system will be handed over to the council. Note well, the service that tends to take longer to connect is the UK power networks, the electricity suppliers, unmetered power suppliers, which will be required at each of the new camera locations. So obviously we've got existing cameras in some of our council offices, leisure centres, car parks, etc. But some of the new sites might take a little bit longer. That can take between 3 and 6 months. From order, which may hold up the completion of some elements of the project. Unfortunately, it's difficult to predict the time that UK power networks will take to connect their supply to the various columns at this stage. And that concludes, Chair, the report for the CCTV project.
Thank you very much, Councillor Savage. Members, are there any questions? Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks again, Councillor Savage. I think it's a really good news story, and I just wanted to add, I think this is great for the borough. It's going to hopefully make it safer, and in conjunction with plugging our street lights, it's a good news story. Well done, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Can I also just say, when I first became leader of this council and I had a meeting with the community safety team, the first meeting I'd had, I was shocked to find that the previous Conservative administration hadn't bothered to apply for the funding for these cameras. And as we take community safety very, very seriously, that was the first thing this administration did. We applied for the funding through the Chief Exec and the police and managed to get the funding. And I honestly believe that this is a game changer for the police, for everybody, that once these cameras are up and running, they're monitored 24/7 by Southend City Council. And so they can see anything going on it live as it goes. So I think, and I know, our residents will feel a lot safer once these cameras are in place. Thank you. Okay, so members, there are 3 recommendations set out in paragraph 3.1 of the report, which I will move. Do I have a seconder?
Happily second that. Thank
Councillor
you.
Mountford, thank you very much. Is that agreed, members? Okay, agenda item 7, renewal and expansion of the Roscommon Way Public Space Protection Order. Councillor Savage.
So this is the second time I've, as Cabinet Member for People and Community, have brought this before you. The first time obviously was 3 years ago when we, as an administration, placed the PSPO on Canvey to help the residents and the businesses local to Roscommon Way and the issues that they were suffering. It's been a bit of a mixed bag in terms of the public response. We set up a task force straight away. We had several residents from Canvey who 6 months in had said that they'd see the marked difference from when we installed the PSPO. So there have been improvements, and year on year, if you look at the last table in the report, you can see clearly that the police have played their part, if you like, in issuing fixed penalty notices, etc. So prior to us taking this PSPO forward, so prior to September 21, they on average were getting 68 calls a month, and no PSPN orders were given out. From September 22 through to 23, that had reduced slightly in terms of the number of calls, but they issued 17 fixed penalty notices, and it just went on year. So 12 in 24. There's only been 1 this year, and I think that's a testament to the fact that there's been a difference even through the summer months. You can see that it has made a difference. As part of that, the Section 59 powers that they've got, they can actually as well and have seized vehicles. So, you know, the guys who do these kind of stunts are fully aware that, you know, we are serious about this particular public space protection order. However, after putting in the PSPO, it was quite obvious that these guys were going to find other locations to go to, and they found 3 others on Canvey to go to, that being Waterside Farm, Fenton Way, you know, and they're just causing problems generally around Northwick Road, etc. So it was quite clear, and in fact, with a meeting with the local community policing team, myself and Damien attended, they wanted to expand that area slightly. They didn't want to encompass the whole island. They didn't think that was necessary, but they certainly wanted to increase the areas of that. And of course, we have to take that to public consultation. So a 4-week public consultation closed on the 1st of August. There were 195 respondents, which is quite good. In terms of the insights, Roscommon Way is the most frequently cited location for vehicle-related antisocial behaviour. Northwick Road, Waterside Farm, as I've mentioned, also feature prominently, suggesting these areas should also be included in the PSPO. And since the industrial estate has been expanded to the south of the Morrisons and that site there, they also believe that the industrial estate should be included as well. So the noise disturbance and dangerous driving were 2 of the most commonly reported issues. Other behaviours such as cruising in large group gatherings also noted and may benefit from targeted enforcement. I suppose in the essence of being open and honest and transparent, I'll give you the percentages of respondents. It wasn't as positive as I was hoping for, if I'm honest. 47% of the respondents said the PSPO had been somewhat effective, while 35% said it had not been effective. Another 9% said they weren't even aware a PSPO was in place, even though there's signage all the way along Roscommon Way. This shows that more could be done to improve how the PSPO is communicated and understood by the public. So I think we've still got some work to do there. Most people who responded, 89%, however, said that they support renewing the PSPO, even though their views on how well it is currently working is mixed. This shows that people still want something in place to deal with the issues, but they feel it needs to be enforced and managed more effectively. More respondents support extending the PSPO to other areas, especially Waterside Farm and Northwick Road, which were also mentioned often as places where problems occur. This shows that the areas people are most concerned about are the same ones that we want the PSPO to cover. So in terms of legal requirements, Castle Point Borough Council Legal have completed and agreed the legal document, the order for the PSPO under the Anti-Social Behaviour Crime and Policing Act 2014. The common seal of the council has been applied to the document and signed by the Assistant Director of Legal and Democratic Services. A map showing the renewed PSPO for Roscommon Way, including the 3 new locations, Fenwick Road, Fentman's Business Estate and Waterside Farm Leisure Centre car park, is agreed. In terms of signage, the Essex County Council Highways Planning Permission is underway for additional PSPO signage to be installed and identified, although we already are in possession of the signs, so this time we won't be waiting for them to come up with the signage, as they weren't used during the original application. Essex Police is aware that the PSPO renewal date will be the 5th of September and all the new locations included in the order. The CSP, the Community Safety Partnership, have requested an Essex Police CSP joint launch operation to publicise the PSPO renewal to improve upon the feedback that the survey regarding public awareness of the PSPO, and the CSP will seek to engage the police to establish an achievable frequency of policing operations at the renewed PSPO locations. We'll add at this point, however, Ian Butt and myself were in several meetings with the team from Southend City Council with the mobile unit, and that was extremely effective and, you know, not only very cheap to actually use. The police have been very proactive in doing research as to when these guys are likely to turn up, and that has been extremely effective and very cheap. So, you know, they're doing the right stuff. The CSP will liaise with Castle Point Comms team to maximise the publicity for the new PSP renewal. And that is that report as well, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. Members, are there any questions? Councillor Fuller.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the report. It's very reassuring that this PSPO will be extended. I speak not only as a cabinet member but as a Canberra resident. I live at on the western end of the island, and anybody who lives in that area will tell you that over the years it's been a nightmare at times, an absolute nightmare, with various degrees of success in tackling the problem. It's only really, I think, since the PSPO was originally in place that things actually started to change, and I do give a lot of credit to the operation of the PSPO that sort of brought that to bear. We have a new district commander, I think, taken over. I would like, if by means of this meeting, just to reiterate to him that there are some steps that the police really do need to take. One of the things which worries me is that previously, my understanding is from a previous district commander, that when these cars were stopped, they were using road traffic offence legislation to issue, tickets, if you like, with no threat to either to the driver or the car itself. Section 59 orders, I think, are the most effective way, because that really, if you've got a Section 59 hanging over you, you know that within 12 months, if you're stopped, even if you're in somebody else's car, that car's going to go. And if anybody's driving your car, that car's going to go. So, it's quite clear to me that the most effective policy is Section 59s. The thing that worries me, and it has been, I think, proven on a number of occasions, when you see the Essex Police put a post up saying, we've got evidence that there's going to be a car cruise, therefore we've put a dispersal order in for Southend, we've put a dispersal order in for Harlow. I look at that and I know that, okay, we know where they're going to go Saturday night. It's going to be Canby Island. So one of the things I'd also like to impress is the fact that if you are putting a dispersal order in Southend, be aware that those cars are going to go somewhere where there isn't a dispersal order. So, it's like kick and reaction. If that's what the dispersal order is about, the reaction from the police has got to be, we're going to have to be careful about the Canby Island. The other thing I would also say, and just in conclusion, the reporting of the problem, reporting the incidents has always been a problem. 101 is quite frankly is a dysfunctional service, and I think everybody accepts it as a dysfunctional service. I was using, I mean, I must have made hundreds of calls over the years about this, because I said, you know, I'm within earshot of Roscommon Way, and until you hear it, you don't believe it. And I know a lot of people will be thinking, well, what are they talking about? I don't hear anything. If you're there and you've got 3 hours of popping and roaring and tyre squealing, you know, between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning, you know what misery is about. So I've really burnt the midnight oil making phone calls. Recently, it's been pretty good, to be perfectly honest. It's been fairly quiet. Earlier in the summer, we had some issues. I made a 101 call, and I think I was holding on the line for something like 38 minutes or something like that, according to my phone. When I put that 101, she said, "Why didn't you phone 999? This is a public safety thing." So I thought, well, I've tried phoning 999 before, and I've been given an earful and told to phone 101. She said, "No, if you've got this problem, phone 999. If they're racing on the road, on the highway, that's a public safety, and therefore you're quite entitled to do a 999 call." So for the last 3 occasions over the last month, when we've had some incidents, I've used 999, and it's just worked. So, you know, the police will respond. They do sort the problem out, but they have to be told about it, because they're not just sitting there waiting for it. What I'd like them to be is be a little bit more proactive when they know that they're setting the conditions for people going on to Canby, because they're not going to go somewhere else, and also to be a little bit more, let's say, aggressive in the way that they're issuing penalties and the penalties they issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Savage?
Through the chair. Yeah, you make some valid points. Certainly in terms of the communication piece, I would still like to carry on with the engagement with local residents, such that, you know, we get a true picture of what's happening on Canby, and to make sure that they're content with what we're doing. Inspector Hogburn, who was the area commander previously, was very proactive and very helpful with us, and I'm sure that the new area commander will be equally helpful in the conversation I had with him. The one thing that I can share with you, which is obviously back to the report of the CCTV, when we sat down this morning looking at this PSPO in terms of relation to the sighting of cameras, the local community policing team were very keen to get 3 other locations, CCTV along Roscommon Way, along Northwick Road, along Vinterman, such that they can see it at the South End camera centre. Yeah, so I think a year down the line, I think we'll get better, even better. You know, more. We'll just keep getting better and better at this, and I think we'll get smarter at it, and hopefully then it won't be so much of an issue for the people on the west side of Canby.
Thank you for that.
Okay, thanks very much. And it is a pest, and it is a nuisance, and hopefully the new cameras will also help out in that situation. And also, I was talking on Monday to the new area commander, and he's very keen on these noise cameras. And he was saying they got them in the borough where he came from. And the good thing about a noise camera is that actually anybody whose car goes over a certain decibel, it takes a photograph of that, and you get a fine through the post. The good thing about the fine, it goes to the council and not to the police. So, you know, there's an opportunity there for anybody who's making too much noise, that if we can get one of these cameras maybe mixed in with this system, what we're putting up there, it'd be a big benefit, I think. Members, there are 3 recommendations set out in paragraph 3.1, which I will move. Do I have a seconder?
Thank you. Happily second.
Councillor Manford, thank you very much. Members, is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much. Agenda item 8, Regulations and Investigatory Powers Act 2000 Policy, Annual Update to the Use of Powers. Councillor Savage again.
It's a Councillor Savage roadshow tonight, sorry. This one will be much briefer than the last one. So this is the second time that I've done this one. This is something that comes up every 2 years. So it's just to provide an update to Cabinet on the current regulation as it stands. So the RIPA policy, the Council's RIPA policy sets out the approach that the Council is taking towards the Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act 2000 RIPA in relation to its policies, practices and services. It's a requirement under paragraph 4.47 of the Home Office Covert Surveillance and Property Interference Code of Practice 2018. that use of the council's RIPA policy is reported to council annually as to whether there have been any such applications made under the Act, and that the policy remains fit for purpose. The council has not found it necessary to make any RIPA applications to the Magistrates Court in the past year, so we've same as previously, we've not actually used this piece of legislation. The council updates its RIPA policy every 2 years in accordance with the recommendations, as I previously said, made following a successful inspection by the Investigatory Powers Commissioner in 2020, who found that the council was demonstrating compliance with policies and had satisfactory arrangements in place in relation to RIPA. The RIPA policy was updated in 2022 and will be updated again later in the year for 25 to 27. And obviously with the new CCTV project in place, we'll make sure that that all ticks the right boxes. By reporting to the Cabinet on the use of RIPA policy in the last year, the Council is continuing to demonstrate compliance with the policy and its associated codes of practices. That's the summary of the report, Chair.
Members, are there any comments or questions? No comments or questions. Members, are the contents of the report noted? Thank you. I will move the recommendation 2 set out in paragraph 3.1 of the report. Do I have a seconder?
Happily second that.
Councillor
Thank you, Chair.
Mountford, thank you very much. Is that agreed, members? Thank you, members. Moving on to agenda item 9, matters referred from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Members, there are none. Members, that concludes the formal business for this evening. Meeting closed at 7:41. Thank you very much. Good night.